Before we start this video, do like and subscribe to our channel and not miss on any updates.
Hello dear students, how are you all doing? I am very sure you all must be totally engrossed in the preparation of the upcoming examination. You must have put in all your heart and soul in the preparation of this coming examination. And now, today here we are to test the kind of performance that you have been doing, the kind of practice that you have been doing, the preparation of yours. Because today what we are going to discuss is the revision test paper issued for the September 24 examination by the institute. Why I am calling this to be an evaluation for the level of your preparation is because when this exercise, that is the revision test paper, when you take up, this is going to be an evaluation for you that how well are you prepared for the examination. This is not a conclusive thing telling that this is what you don't know, so you don't know anything. No, this is an idea that when a particular topic you do individually, you study in full, then you pick up the next one, then you pick up the next one. So slow and steady, topic by topic, you go on preparing and revising one after the other. But then now what we are going to do is, this entire coverage of yours, we are going to bring in together into one paper and then see when everything is brought together, will you be in a position to remember, to understand, to interpret, to think about in one go. So basically, revision test papers is one of those key ideas wherein you'll be able to understand how well have you been prepared for the upcoming examination. So this practice is very important. So today's discussion that we are going to have is really important. And you never know, sometime you'll be really lucky and sometimes directly a question from the year directly comes in the main examination. So even in that context, this discussion today becomes very important. I always tell one thing, that this is a revision test paper. So you have to understand, revision can happen only when the subject is completed. If you are halfway through or you still believe you have to study a little, I would really recommend, do not jump to the RTP. It is not recommended. Rather, you complete everything, revise thoroughly, then you come up to this, wherein you will be then able to understand how I have prepared, am I able to give the answers correctly, where still some efforts are pending, where I have to put in some more efforts. So that is going to be self-evaluation, and that is the idea behind solving the revision test paper. Alright? So without any further delay, let us get started with this important discussion of ours, wherein we pick up the September 24 RTP for the auditing inter paper. Okay, so that is the paper 5, auditing and ethics. So here you are going to have question first. It is going to be case scenario based MCQ, where we are going to read a question and then analyze it and interpret it. The idea behind this is, obviously RTPs come with the answer, but that is not going to be the only thing that is going to be important for us. We are going to analyze it, interpret, understand how to give the answers here, understand what kind of language you need to develop. Problem with the papers like audit is that you know the content, you know the concept very well, you know the theory also very well. But sometimes what happens is, you have a fear in your mind that what kind of questions are going to come in the exam. Will I be able to interpret? Will I be able to write them? So the problem actually is there. So with this kind of exercise, what happens is, two things. One, you will get an insight of what kind of questions could be asked in the examination. How will be the language? How will be the questioning style? So you'll get an understanding about the question paper, the questioning style. Second, because the answers are available, we also can understand the kind of answers expected from you. So basically, what we will do in this discussion is, we will read the question, we'll not refer the answer directly. We'll first interpret, understand what is our clear understanding. If you would have got this in the main examination, how our interpretation would go. So basically, keeping that in mind, then we'll check the answer to see whether what we are been thinking and what has been given there, whether it is matching. If that happens, yes, we are in the right position, we are perfectly prepared. But if that doesn't happen, that means yes, in this area, we require to work a little more revision is required. So any which way, we will be benefited by the practice of the revision test paper. Alright, so now let us get started with here, wherein we first take the case scenario based MCQ. Then there are questions which are simple MCQs, straightforward. Straightforward as in there is no case study, a straight MCQ has been questioned. After that, you have descriptive questions which have been picked up from each and every topic. So altogether we have 11 topics. From every single topic, a question has been given to us. So this will help us understand that when I take the entire syllabus together, all the 11 topics with all the standards together, will I be able to give the answers or not? Alright. So let us get started with the first question, and that is about the MCQ. Okay, that is a case scenario based MCQ. Okay. Now, first let us read it carefully. What is the scenario all about? So they say, Pluto Limited is engaged in the manufacturing and distribution of furniture. After COVID, as the number of people working from home has gone up, this customizable range home furniture has gained a lot of importance. They were able to perform very well over the years, and the same has been reflected in their financial statements. So it's a company doing very good business as of now. During the year 23-24, Mrs. Saha and Associates were reappointed as the auditor. The new engagement letter team has CA Saha to be the partner, and there are 5 articles assistants. So the engagement team is talking about a partner and 5 article assistants. Given the large volume of transaction, the partner instructed the article assistants to review the financial statements and the auditor's report from the previous year 22-23 to gain the thorough understanding. Okay. While reviewing the summary page, one of the article Kabir noticed that few points were under discussion with the partner before finalizing the audit. So let's see what is Kabir picking up here, all the points that he has picked up. The team verified the following points with respect to employee benefit expenses. So regarding employee benefit, what are they telling? The employee benefit expense recorded in the books were actually incurred. Okay, then the expenses in respect of all the personals have been accounted for. So all personals have been accounted for. The expenses recognized during the period are pertaining to the current accounting period. If you look at all this language, don't you think it is going to be a question based on the assertion for sure? Because if you look at all these language, when you study the audit of items of financial statements, we discuss the concept of assertion. And that time we understand that when you talk about assertions for P&L account item balance sheet, there are some key assertions that we have to validate, we have to verify. So here look at this. When you talk about recorded in the books of actually incurred, actually it means whether they have actually occurred. Correct? Then expenses in respect of personnel have been accounted for all means what? Completeness. So verification of completeness has done. Plus expenses recognized during the period are pertaining to current accounting period. That is cut off. Because if they are belonging to the next period, we need to cut it off. We have to take it to the next period, not bring it here. Clubbing should not happen. Correct? So basically there are 3 assertions being discussed here. Then it was also noted that dividend to equity shareholders for the year 22-23 was declared on 15th of April after the balance sheet date and was recognized as a liability in 22-23. So this, I believe, if you read the question itself, you understand this accounting treatment is not correct because this is after the balance sheet subsequent event as non-adjusting. So obviously it cannot be shown as a liability, it has to be shown as a note in the financial statements. Then another article, Krish, noticed the debtors constitute a major component of the company's financial statement. As a part of audit procedure, the auditor requested the client to obtain external confirmation from the parties. We know this very well. To check the existence or other assertions of debtors, one of the important things that we do or the procedures that we perform is to obtain external confirmation. So what is the criteria here? For this, a list of all the debtors were obtained, that we always do, and a random sampling was performed by the auditor. The client directly obtained the selected debtors confirmation from the customers on time. Now this is something, if you have done SA 505, you will understand very easily that first of all, okay, we get the list of debtors from whom? The client, but then we have to understand the material debtors first, significant debtors, we send to all of them. The remaining all, we are going to do some random sampling and pick few of them. And auditors should directly obtain the confirmation, don't route it through the client. Correct? So this, when the client is obtaining it, is something not correct. The reliability of the evidences will get compromised. Correct? So here client is directly obtaining, no, auditor has to obtain. So let's see what is the further thing about it. Krish also observed in the assets amounting to 50 lakhs during the year supported by sufficient audit evidence. However, upon scrutiny, it was found that some of the invoices were not in the name of the company. So they were not in the name of company. That means company was not owning it. So here it is about rights and obligation. Company has the right or not on it. Further, cash and cash equivalent were classified as balance with the bank. Okay, checks, drafts on hands, cash on hand, earmarked balances with the bank, unpaid dividend. Okay, basically they're telling about disclosures. For cash and cash equivalent, they have given such disclosures. Okay. So case study is not complicated, it's quite simple. Very few things also have been given. They have not extended very heavy here. So first thing, they're talking about a growing business. They are talking about the appointment of the auditors, the engagement team, what is the article assistants finding out about, verifying about. So first is about employee benefit expenses. Then they have given the accounting treatment for dividend. Then about debtors, how they have obtained the confirmation, and about the assets, how are they understood about the rights and obligations about the assets, that is how they are verifying the assets. Okay. Now, based on the above, answer the following question. Which among the following assertions are discussed with respect to employee benefit? So now if you go back here, we have already picked up on the assertion. So they have checked for occurrence, they have checked for completeness, and they have checked for cutoff. So if you look at it, they are telling all the four. So obviously here there is going to be a combination to give the answer. So the answer should has to be occurrence is there, so 2, cutoff is there, so 3, and also completeness. So you have to pick up the option with all the 3. So it is going to be 2, 3 and 4. So option has to be B. 2, 3 and 4. Clear? Alright. Next. Whether disclosure of dividend under liability head during the year 22-23 is appropriate. We discussed already, the answer is no, because here it is a subsequent event, non-adjusting basically. So it will not be shown as a adjustment in the financial statement, but it will be disclosed definitely in the notes to accounts. Correct? So yes is wrong basically here. No, the amount should be recognized equally between 2 financial years, absolutely not. No, the amount should not be recognized as a liability, it should be disclosed in notes to accounts. This is the correct one. Clear? Alright. Last they are telling it should either be recognized, no, this is wrong. So the answer would be the amount should not be recognized as a liability, but yes, definitely it has to be shown in the notes to accounts as a disclosure requirement. Then comes to, Krish pointed out that the method followed to obtain debtors confirmation in the previous year was not in accordance with SA 505. That we also picked up because we understood what they are trying to do. First of all, they have applied random sampling for all the debtors. That is one point which is wrong. Second, they have obtained it through the client, or the client is directly obtaining it, which makes the reliability gets compromised. So because of that, both of these things are going to be a big problem. So we need to see both are rectified. Therefore, Messrs. Shah and Associates should pre-perform. So they have to rectify it, re-perform it in the same in the correct manner. So what should be the correct manner here? As per SA 505, confirmation should be directly obtained by the auditor, that is correct. Further, for all the significant account balances as on the balance sheet date, confirmation should necessarily be collected, correct. All important date account balances, they have to collect it. And for smaller outstanding balances, random sampling could be done. I think this is the correct answer. All significant balances, you have to do all the checking. And for smaller balances, you can do random sampling. For everything together, random sampling is not appropriate. Significant balances, high risk. So because of that, you have to send confirmation to all, correct. Here they say it is okay to obtain confirmation through the client. No. Confirmation should be directly obtained by the auditor, where random selection can be done for all auditors. No. Irrespective of that is not correct. Either auditor or the client can obtain. No. I think the first one we have settled here. First one is the answer. Then next. Which assertion has been affected in the case of fixed assets? This also we discussed because invoice is not in the name of company, right? So basically whether company really has a right over it or not. So basically the assertion affected is right and obligation, correct? Then cash and cash equivalent were not properly classified by the client. Which of the following is incorrect? So if you do the disclosure requirements properly, you will understand balance with bank is correct, cash and drafts on hand is correct, cash on hand is correct. What is not there? This is wrong. So this is not the disclosure that we do, correct? So this has to be shown separately as a disclosure for earmarked amount to be utilized for a specified purpose, but doesn't come under cash and cash equivalent. Okay. For this, your knowledge regarding audit of items when we study disclosure requirements, presentation disclosure has to be good enough, correct? Yes. So that was regarding the case scenario question where you have discussed the MCQ. Now tell me, if you look at these MCQ, genuinely do you feel it is very heavy? No. The thing is, if you are conceptually very strong, one good reading of the scenario, you will be able to understand what could be the focus. Okay. So basically, I think it was one of the simple scenarios to be discussed. Then let's take general MCQs now. General MCQs altogether there are 3. Let's pick one by one. CA Chatur provides accounting and bookkeeping service. One thing is I have a very strong, feeling that regarding threats, questions is definitely going to be questioned, because the previous examination, the previous RTP, now the RTP, everywhere question is coming regarding the threats. So I think you should have a very strong knowledge about what kind of threat it is, what could be the different type of threats. Okay, the content about the threat should be studied properly, because the question on threats to independence could be expected in the main examination. Okay, so one of the important areas. C.A. Chatur provides accounting and bookkeeping service to Shiv Ganga Limited. He is providing accounting and bookkeeping. He is also offered an audit of the accounts. So when you are providing accounting and bookkeeping and now they are giving you audit, is it allowed to you? No, because here definitely there is going to be one of the major threats to your independence. And when you have done a work, if you are only going to check it, what kind of threat is this? It is going to be a self-review threat, correct? So here obviously the question has not to be read also further. We know which threat of independence may be involved here. It is going to be self-review, because you will check your own work. So are you going to be objective enough to give the conclusion? No. Okay. Then next is C.A. Sargun is conducting statutory audit of branch of KBC Bank. During the course of audit, it is noticed that one borrower has availed a housing loan and as well as a car loan from the branch. So two loans, housing loan and car loan. Housing loan EMI are overdue for 120 days as on the date of balance sheet. So overdue for 120 days, that is it is 90 days and above. So obviously it has become an NPA. Car loan EMIs are overdue for 60 days. So still they are not NPAs, at the verge. Okay. Which of the following statement is appropriate? So if you look at this kind of question, tell me, when we do deemed NPA, don't you think this kind of scenario we discuss? If you have gone through the classes very carefully, we do an example regarding, a person taking multiple facilities from the bank. Cash credit facilities, their credit card has been taken, term loan is taken, okay. Then we study one concept that if one particular facility becomes NPA, that means all the other facilities also will be termed as NPA, they'll become deemed NPA. So here it is understandable that the question would be based on whether it is a borrower wise classification or it is going to be facility wise. So we know very well, when a borrower's one facility extended to him becomes NPA, automatically all the facilities extended to him will also become NPA. So here, if housing loan has become NPA, automatically even the car loan will become what? NPA, because it is going to be borrower wise. So C.A. Sargun has to make the entire borrower, this borrower only as standing as what? NPA. So all the facilities extended to him, correct? Now look at the answer. Housing loan should be classified as NPA in accordance with RBI norms. Car loan shall be classified as standard asset, wrong. Car loan should be classified as NPA in accordance with RBI norms on asset classification. However, housing loan should be classified as standard asset. No. Both housing loan as well as car loan should be classified as NPA in accordance with RBI norms on asset classification. Because when you read the RBI norms on asset classification, you know it is borrower wise and not facility wise. Correct? Then both housing loan as well as class loans are standard asset. That is obviously not. 120 days due, it cannot be a standard asset. Then last one, Sagar Finance Corporation Limited is a government company. The audit of company is conducted by statutory auditors appointed by Comptroller Auditor General of India. Who is empowered to conduct supplementary audit? I think it's a very simple question. Who is empowered to conduct supplementary audit in the case of Sagar Finance? We know as per section 143 subsection 6. Okay, we study this very clearly about the government audit, and we understand that Comptroller Auditor General of India also has the power to perform or get the supplementary audit conducted. So obviously who is going to appoint him? It is CAG only who is going to appoint. So the answer is very simple. CAG will be appointing the supplementary auditor. Okay. Okay. So that is all regarding the case studies and also the MCQs. Moving forward, we are now going to take up the descriptive questions. Okay. All right. Now let us take up the next part, that is going to be the descriptive questions now. So let's pick up the first one from the first topic, nature, objective and scope of audit. Okay, so here let's see what the question is all about. If you look at the highlighting part of it, it is about the assurance engagement. Okay. Now, Kriti, a CA student, has joined articles in a reputed audit firm. She considered audit engagement to be an assurance engagement. Okay. Her understanding is that audit engagement is the only kind of assurance engagement in which practitioner gives a written assurance report in the appropriate form. However, her friend Somaya does not agree with her. She is of the view that assurance engagement are not restricted to audit alone, Besides, Somaya also thinks that assurance engagement can also relate to matters other than historical financial information, whose view appears to be correct, state with reasons. Now, before we discuss, you need to evaluate a little, think a little, that in the first topic, in the first chapter that we study, we focus a lot upon this kind of engagement. Okay, we have discussed about different types of engagements. Okay, and then we have understood with them along with what? Their respective standards. And I always tell that when you come to CA final, the standards content is also a part of your syllabus. So when we bifurcate the standards, how do we study? We study about assurance engagement and then non-assurance engagement. Under assurance engagement, we again subclassify telling that there is going to be assurance engagement which is going to be audit, reasonable assurance. Then there is going to be a limited assurance, the review engagements. Then we talk about engagements which are with respect to some other information, like for prospective financial information, assurance on the internal control system of the entity, correct? So where we have like SREs are there, standards on review engagement, for all the review engagements, how to perform. Auditing standards, we have that standards on auditing essays for the audit as the assurance engagement. And then there are standards on assurance engagement called as SAEs for other set, which is going to be prospective financial information, internal controls, etc. So there could be what? Historical information, that is the events already occurred, the financial statements already prepared, on that also assurance can be given. And also on the information other than historical information, like prospective financial statements, when the bank is going to ask you for projections of your futuristic financial statements. On that also can we give assurance? Yes. So here the auditor or maybe the chartered accountant, we can say, is going to obtain sufficient appropriate evidences regarding what? That this particular projection is based on the assumptions and the assumptions are reasonable, and we are going to give a report. So basically we know that first of all assurance engagement is obviously going to be, one of them is audit. So here Kriti is not wrong in telling audit is assurance engagement, but obviously her understanding regarding audit being the only assurance engagement is wrong, because audit is one of the assurance engagement, but other is going to be what? Review engagement is also there. Okay, these two are on historical financial statements, but there are other assurance engagements also, like prospective financials. You also have checking assurance on internal controls, etc., where we talk about SAEs, other assurance engagements, correct? So here understand, the understanding of Somaya is correct, where she says that it can also relate to matters other than historical financial information. So she is telling it is not only audit, review also is there. Plus it should also not be only on historical data, it could be on other information, like there are other assurance engagements also. So basically here we can say that yes, audit is one of the assurance engagements where reasonable assurance is obtained. When you talk about review, then there is a limited assurance assured. That means it's going to be high level of assurance only, but not as high as reasonable assurance. So there the number of procedures will be less, a negative kind of opinion will be given. Okay, they are limited assurance. So we call it to be review engagements. These both are on what? Historical financial data. But on prospective financials, on the designing of your internal control, on that also the auditors or the practitioners can give the opinion, assurance can be given, correct? Those are considered to be other assurance engagements. So we have SAs also, we have SRE also, and we will have SAE also. So here the understanding would be, her friend does not agree with her, so of the view that assurance engagements are not restricted to only audit, that is also correct. Plus, she also thinks it could relate to matters other than historical financial information. So the view whose is correct here, the answer is Somaya's. So the view of Somaya is correct because we don't have only audit as assurance engagement, we have review also as the assurance engagement, we also have other historical information, on that also we can provide assurance. However, the level of assurance will change. When it comes to audit, we give reasonable assurance, a high level of assurance. When it comes to review and other assurance engagement, we are going to provide a low level of assurance, not low level, a limited assurance. Okay. So basically, she will be correct here. Okay. So theory will be all that. You have to mention about assurance engagement, which are the other assurance engagements, on what you give the opinion, the level of assurance. Clear? All right. And at the end, you have to obviously give the conclusion. That means the understanding of Kriti is incorrect in this given situation. However, Somaya's understanding regarding assurance engagement to include all the other engagements is also appropriate, and also matters can be without or beyond historical financial information. Clear? All right. Then next we talk about audit strategy, audit planning and audit program. Let's see what is the question here. CAN, engagement partner of LPS and associates, is planning for audit of large company as a preliminary engagement activity. So SA 300 should click quickly. Preliminary engagement activity being performed in this regard. So we all know preliminary engagement activity. We talk about SA 220, acceptance, continuation of client relationship, independence check. Okay, then SA 210. Okay, all of these things we discussed. So we have 220, 220 and 210 as a discussion. Correct? That's preliminary engagement activity. Okay, he wants to ensure the compliance with independence requirement is adhered or not. How shall he form a conclusion that the firm complies with independence requirement? So here the answer will flow very simple. So when you talk about independence requirement, we have to first understand about the team's independence criteria, understand the policy of the firm, check if there is any kind of threat to independence, then see if there is a possibility to eliminate the threat. Like for example, removing that particular assistant, or maybe if you have shares in the company, taking away the shares, or transferring the shares of those companies, giving up the shares of the company, selling off. Okay, or changing the engagement partner in whose name you're taking up the audit. Okay, so try to eliminate it, or try to eliminate the threat or reduce the threat to an acceptable low level. If that also does not happen, then in that case what you will do? You should not accept the engagement. So basically that is the discussion here. First you identify, then you evaluate, then check if there is a breach, that is if there is any threat. Check for the safeguards available. If safeguard is not possible, then you have to not accept. Don't use the word withdraw here because you have not accepted it. Withdrawal is the word used for when you have accepted and you are leaving. Here we are discussing about you have to accept it. So you should not accept the engagement if the safeguards cannot be applied and the threat cannot be mitigated. Clear? So that is regarding how to comply with the independence requirement. You have to adhere with the audit firm's policy and procedure with respect to independence. Clear? Then risk assessment, internal control. Okay, a very straightforward question here. Companies are increasingly using data analytics for managing their operations. Auditor can also obtain good results by using data analytics, that we have discussed in detail, that we know data analytics is one of the important tools today that we are using for the purpose of performing the audit, especially in the large organization. It will help us to analyze the data, validate the data. It will help us to get a proper extraction looking at the size and the volume of the data. It is one of the most effective way of performing the audit. And the tools that we use and the methodologies that we use, we call it to be computer assisted audit programs, that is going to be, or techniques, that is CAT. All right. So we have specialized tools like ACL, IDEA, etc., which are used by the auditor for the performance of audit. So they are all nothing but data analytical tools. So the question is, what are the tools and techniques? So this already we explained. We call them to be CAT. Example could be ACL, IDEA, etc. Then, what are the tools and techniques used by the auditor in applying the principles of data analytics, and in which area data analytics can be used by the auditor? Okay, this is very straightforward question. When we do the theory of it, we have studied in detail. We will use it for the purpose of sampling. We'll use it for purpose of segregation of the population, like picking up the samples correctly. Then verifying the journal entries to identify the frauds. Correct? Then dividing the data. Okay, all of these things. So a lot of things can be done by data analytics, where you can process the data appropriately and try to make a meaningful understanding. Interpretations can be drawn. Okay. So now, since we have finished 3 questions, what we'll do is quickly we'll go through the answers to see whether the content what we are discussing is matching or not. So look at that here. Audit engagement is an assurance engagement, agreed, but that is not restricted to only that, because we have review engagements and engagement to provide information on prospective financial information as well as internal control. So did we pick up all the elements? Yes. The difference is about the level of assurance. One is going to be reasonable, other is going to be lower level as compared to audit. Correct? Don't say level of assurance. It has to be lower level of assurance as compared to audit, because it is limited assurance. If you say lower level of assurance, it looks very, it's not the correct thing to write. You have to write lower level of assurance when compared to audit, because audit gives a high level of assurance. Correct? Then here they have given you regarding you have to obtain sufficient appropriate evidence. In prospective financial information, we require to obtain evidences regarding the assumptions used by the management. They should be reasonable. Okay, that is all. So the conclusion at the end will be, Kriti is of the view that audit engagement is the only kind of assurance engagement, okay, which is inappropriate. Okay, thus the view of Soumya is correct. Okay, so that is the answer. That is the way you have to present your answer. Then here I told you have to identify and evaluate the circumstances and relationship that will affect the independence, that is threat to independence. Then identify the breaches and see if there is a threat to independence. Then try to take appropriate actions to eliminate it. And if elimination does not happen, what you will do? You will apply safeguard if not possible to bring it to an acceptable level, then in that case we are not going to accept it, that is withdraw is permitted. Okay, so we have to try to resolve the matter as appropriate situation. Okay, then tools and techniques, we call it to be computer assisted audit techniques, correct? And see here, it will be used to check the completeness of the data, audit sampling, very important point for recomputation, reperformance, correct? Analysis of journal entries for frauds, control deficiencies can be identified. Okay, this was when we did the theoretical part itself, I told you one of the important areas, correct? So a straight question from here. So now the next question will pick up from the chapter 4, audit evidence. Quality Products Limited is engaged in manufacturing of bicycles. As a part of manufacturing activities, it sends raw material to some businesses entity and procures finished components from them. So they're sending raw materials and getting the finished goods. Okay. As on 31st March 2024, inventories lying with such business entities are material. So inventory lying with third party it is. Okay. Being statutory auditor of Quality Products Limited, how will you obtain sufficient appropriate evidence regarding existence and condition of inventory lying with such business entities? Okay, so this I always tell, even when I explain this particular chapter or whenever I explain the standard also, that is one of the very, very important standards which could be tested in the examination. So basically this question comes from essay 501. Audit evidence, specific consideration for selected items. So we have 3 selected items there. One is inventory, second claims and litigation, third is segment information. So in the inventory, what is the assertion that we are checking here? It is the condition and the existence, correct? So here we see that they are talking about a situation where inventory is lying with a third party. So in that case, to understand about the existence and the condition, so whether the inventory is existing, that is it is there, as well as the condition, okay, because that is required for valuation purpose and all. So because of that, we require to understand the existence and the condition of the inventory lying with third party. So what audit procedure will you apply for the purpose of obtaining sufficient appropriate evidences with respect to condition and existence? So now it is a third party. So first of all, it is going to be that you are going to obtain confirmation from the third party, and also you can inspect certain documents with respect to the inventory. Other procedures that you can apply here would be, you can inspect other documents relating to the inventories. Then there could be a possibility that you could actually attend or send some other auditor to the physical, attend the physical count of the inventory at the third party's location. Or you could get the service auditor's report. So basically when you do essay 402, you'll study in final basically. That time you'll be able to understand, whereas you will check that in the other place, that is in the entity's other organization, you'll be able to send an, you'll have an auditor who will be checking the internal controls. So his report we can check. So basically that report we call it to be service auditor's report. So we can ask for the report of the service auditor and check whether what is his opinion regarding the controls over the existence of the inventory, maintenance of the inventory and all that, counting of the inventory, etc. Correct? So you can also ask for external confirmation. Okay, all of these things are possible as a part of a procedure for obtaining sufficient appropriate evidence regarding existence and condition. Okay, so external confirmation, inspection of documents, you yourself attending or sending another auditor, okay, or obtaining the service auditor's report, all of these things are considered to be the audit procedures to check existence and condition. Clear? All right. So you have to give the reference to essay 501, and this is inventory lying with third party, for which you are going to apply, you are going to obtain the audit, sufficient appropriate evidences by performing these audit procedures. Clear? All right. Next, audit of items of financial statement. You will not require much help of mine here. The question is straightforward regarding, okay, the financial statements of XYZ Limited show long-term borrowings from banks, financial institution, leasing and hire purchase companies. Additionally, the company has issued debenture of its 1,000 members to raise funds in accordance with the provisions of the Companies Act 2013. The money raised by issue of debenture is also reflected in the long-term borrowings, obviously. As a statutory auditor of XYZ Limited, CAX wants to verify all the borrowings of the balance sheet represent valid claim by the bank or other third parties. So whether they are really existing or not. Suggest a few audit procedures in this regard. So very simple, you can write about all the pointers given here. First is you look into the board's meeting and check whether a resolution has been properly passed to acquire these loans. Then get the loan agreement and check for all the terms and conditions. Loan agreement is also approved for ensuring valid claims. You'll be able to understand about tenure, interest, everything. Then you can study the lease deeds, hire purchase agreements to understand about the asset which is leased and the term period, everything. Then debenture trust deed can be checked. You can also obtain the written confirmation from the management to ensure whether these claims are actually valid claims or not. So basically looking at all these pointers, you can build your answer very easily. Okay, when I read through the answer, you will see all these pointers only have been captured. Okay, and borrowings, always remember the first point you have to begin with the verification or the review of board's minutes. Okay, the board meeting, whatever has been happened in that, through the minutes you'll be able to get the knowledge about it. So minutes of the board meeting have to be verified. Okay, to understand about the decisions regarding loans and all. Then comes to audit documentation. In audit documentation, look at the question now. An important factor in determining the form, content and extent of documentation, okay, of significant matters is the extent of professional judgment exercised in performing the work and evaluating the results. Explains stating clearly the examples of significant matters. So basically they're telling when you're going to decide the form, content and extent. So how it has to be, what has to be included in your documentation, obviously it is going to be an objective judgment. Okay, depending upon all the facts and circumstances that you came across, based on that the auditor is going to apply his professional judgment, objective decision making is going to be done, and then decide what has to be included in the documentation. However, there are going to be some significant matters which he will definitely record about it. Like all the matters which were difficult to understand, where audit evidences could not be easily obtained, where there were audit procedures were performed but evidences could not be obtained. All right. So there could be multiple areas where auditor had to apply additional procedure, or the procedures failed. These are considered to be significant matters. Okay. So all of these things you have to give examples also and tell that it's an objective decision of the auditor what has to be included and what not. Okay, significant matters. Okay, so before we move forward, let's pick up the answers for this also. So we took 3 questions now. Okay, so 3 questions were regarding first. Yeah, essay 501, I told you have to give the understanding. So specific consideration for selected items. So you have to obtain from the third party, okay, the information about it. So any of the following procedures or all the 4 procedures you can perform. Okay, one or both you can perform. Request confirmation from third party and perform inspection or other procedures. Okay. So other procedures could be what? Inspecting documentation regarding inventory, request confirmation from third parties, attending or arranging another auditor to attend it, okay, the physical count of the inventory if possible. Then you can obtain service auditor's report or to ensure about the controls, okay, whether properly counted and adequately safeguarded. Okay, because counted, adequately safeguarded means existence and condition both has to be checked. Okay, if you have studied essay 501 properly, if you have gone through the lecture very carefully, you have seen this part I have highlighted and I have also explained it in detail about how you do it with all proper examples and everything. Okay, so I think it is quite manageable if you have studied 501 properly. Then about audit procedure regarding borrowings. Here also I told you that you have to begin with what? Review the board meetings for all the approvals and everything. Then loan records you'll understand through the loan agreements. Get the balance confirmation from the lenders. Lease and hire purchase agreements you can check. Debenture trust deed is there. If debt has been repaid, then you have to check whether it has been properly, ensure that discharge is received on the asset secured by the debt. So asset also has to be released. And I told you about written representation, that also you have to obtain. Okay. Obviously from the management that all the liabilities are valid claim of them. Okay, valid claims made by them, made by the lenders. Okay. All right. Yeah, this one now. In essay 230 audit documentation, see they're telling judging the significance of a matter requires objective analysis of the facts and circumstances. So objective analysis means it is the judgment of the auditor depending upon the facts and circumstances that he came across that he will decide the form, content and extent of the audit documentation. However, certain examples could be matters which give rise to significant risk, like related party transactions are there, fraud risk factors are there. Okay, unusual transactions. These all are some of those matters where you are going to document because they are all very significantly high risk elements. Then result of audit procedures indicated that financial statements could be misstated. So anywhere you performed a procedure and you could identify a misstatement, obviously you are going to document. Circumstances where audited this procedure could not identify. So it was very difficult to apply the audit procedure. For example, you wanted to obtain confirmation, they did not allow you. Where you ask for written representation, they have not provided. So don't you think it is going to be important? Yes, that you will document. And also some matters because of which you have given a modified opinion, or because of those matters you have to introduce EOM or OM paragraphs. Then these paragraphs, obviously all this matter will definitely be included in what? Your documentation. Correct? So these all matters are considered to be significant matters, examples of significant matters which should be included as a part of your audit documentation. Okay? So when you talk about form, content and extent, These all matters will be taken into account, provided this is not the only thing, because purely what will come in the documentation is going to be auditor's professional judgment as well. Okay. An important factor in determining the form, content and the extent of documentation of significant matters is the extent of professional judgment exercised in performing the work and evaluating the result. Documentation of professional judgment made where significant explains the auditor's conclusion and reinforces the quality of judgment. Basically, wherever auditor believes this particular matter has to be documented, obviously he is going to document as per his professional judgment to enhance the quality of his work. Okay, like subsequent audits, reviewing matters and all these will become important. Okay, so this is the main element actually. So you have to remember this properly. Form, content and extent will depend upon the facts and circumstances, and also these matters are examples for what? It is example for significant matters to be included. Okay, so I would recommend you remember this properly. Okay, yes. Now the next element for a discussion, that is completion and review topic. Okay, this is one of the important ones because we have very important standards being covered here, like written representation, subsequent event, then we have going concern. Okay, so some of the major standards are covered here. Okay, so now look at this. CA Manoj is the statutory auditor of the company. He has completed the audit and issued the audit report dated 30th June 2024. Before signing the audit report, written representation dated 29th June 2024 were obtained from the management of the company. Discuss the significance of the date of the written representation. Also state whether the written representation obtained on June 29, 2024 is appropriate or not. I think it's a very simple question because in SA 580 we study about written representation and we understand that written representation has to be obtained as near as practicable to, but not after the date of the auditor's report. Correct? So here the date of auditor's report is 30th of June and he has got it 29th June. So in fact he has done something very correct because just one day prior to the date of auditor's report, that is as late as possible, but before the date of auditor's report, he has got it. Because the point is, it is one of the important audit evidences that you require for the purpose of giving opinion. And evidences obviously cannot be obtained after the date of audit report because on the basis of evidence is what the opinion has been given. That is one thing. Second, all subsequent events after balance sheet date, for everything together, written representations are obtained. So all that period is also covered. So because of that, it has to be taken as far as possible. It should become as far as practicable, but it should never cross the audit report date, because keeping into mind subsequent events, event after balance sheet date and everything has to be taken into account for the purpose of audit. Obviously, it has to go beyond the balance sheet date. So we try to take it later as possible, but should not go beyond the auditor's report date. So here obviously it has come before 29th June. So here it has been correct. The validity of the written representation is correct here. So it is appropriate in the given circumstances because it is one of the necessary evidences to form the opinion, and this evidence cannot be obtained after the date of audit report. So we try to obtain it as later as possible, but it should not be beyond the auditor's report date. Okay, so it is appropriate. Next, while conducting audit of BYN Limited, CAY notices that the company has lost one of its key market along with important customers. Okay. Additionally, several highly successful competitors have emerged. So they are giving you some kind of indicators that company is having an endanger of its solvency. That is basically company could cease to be a going concern. There is all big threats coming up of the company. Despite the existence of material uncertainty, CAY finds the use of going concern based of accounting appropriate for the preparation of financials. So basically he has obtained enough audit evidences where he is given an understanding that the indicators are there, but yes, maybe the company has a backup plan or maybe the company has mitigation plan so solid that they will not be, they will not cease to be a going concern. So though there is a material uncertainty, CAY is of the opinion that the company is still a going concern and therefore the accounting treatment that they have adopted is appropriate. The company has also disclosed the material uncertainty in the notes to account. So obviously it is absolutely correct. Company has given the disclosure. How should you deal with this matter? So first of all, understand, is this that we are going to go for modification here? The answer is no, because what is required with respect to this matter, that the books can be prepared as per going concern assumption, because management is actually, there is an uncertain event, but then they are properly given a disclosure. And CAY is also of the opinion that what is the thing, that going concern is appropriate. So basically going concern assumption is valid and disclosure also properly given. So our opinion obviously is going to be unmodified. But then obviously we cannot just keep it as it is, because this is one of the key elements which users' attention has to be drawn to. So what we do in the audit report, we have a separate paragraph regarding uncertainties relating to going concern. there we have to mention about this particular aspect. So we need to draw the attention of the users to this particular notes to this particular point in the notes to accounts, and say that you're drawing an attention to this note number so and so, where they have mentioned about a material uncertainty existing that could cast a doubt on the entity's ability to continue as going concern. But our opinion is not modified with respect to this particular matter. Correct? So that is what you have to mention here. So we are going to give unmodified opinion, plus in the material uncertainty paragraph you are going to give about it will draw the attention, correct, plus say that we are not giving a modified opinion, and this is not the reason for a modified opinion. Correct? Then that was simple one. Then next is audit report. Now in audit report the question is based on Caro, okay, and I always tell a question on Caro is genuinely expected. So your preparation of Caro based on applicability of Caro, about the clauses of Caro, has to be really good, and that is the only reason we have done extensive preparation of Caro clauses, because questions from Caro are expected. You cannot take a call there. Okay. So statutory dues and transaction with related party. So statutory due is clause number 7, and transaction with related party is going to be clause number 13. Correct? Yes. So they are simply giving you straightforward reporting requirement. So basically statutory dues you will bifurcate into two parts, undisputed and disputed. So if they are undisputed statutory dues, okay, then you have to mention whether they are paid on time, and if as on the year end, as on 31st March, if there are any arrears, okay, for the payment which are due for more than 6 months from the date they have become due, then in that case about that amount you have to mention it very clearly. The amount and the period it has been overdue. Second, there is nature, amount and period. And then when you talk about disputed one, then amount and forum, whether the dispute is going on, that has to be mentioned. Transaction with related party, we have to give a requirement that whether the sections 177 and 188 of the Companies Act have been duly complied with or not. Okay, this is a theoretical question here, because usually we see Caro case study kind of question comes, but no, here they have given it straightforward. So you have to mention about undisputed and disputed, and based on that, if you have read the Caro content very carefully, you will understand what exactly I mean by outstanding as on 31st March, those which are due for more than 6 months and all. We have done examples also, we have done questions also, so the understanding will be very clear. Okay, so that's very simple. Clause 7 and clause 18, clause 13. Then here they are asking you regarding multi-state cooperative society, audit of different types of entities. So here it is about under which circumstance, okay, it's about special audit. Section 77 of the Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act 2002 states that the central government may at any time by order direct special audit of multi-state cooperative societies, accounts for such period or periods as may be specified in the order shall be conducted. Further, it may be the same or different auditor appoint either chartered accountant or the multi-state cooperatives auditor himself to conduct special audit. Under which circumstances can such power be exercised? So basically nothing is asked about appointment and the procedure regarding the special audit conducting and all. They are asking you under what circumstances can CG conduct it. Obviously when there is going to be the CGs of the opinion that the affairs are not carried out properly, there is a fraudulent activities. When there is anything which is found which is endangering the solvency of the society, or maybe they are not adhering to the cooperative principles, then in that case also they could call for a special audit to be conducted. Okay. So this is a straightforward question. If you have done cooperative societies properly, very easily you will be able to pick up on this. Then comes to audit of banks. This if we have done the study of this bank topic very well, then you will realize that when we were doing drawing power, I had also told you that in the institute study material there are questions on calculation of drawing power, and a kind of question like that could definitely come in the examination, because when institute gives examples and also some kind of questions are framed on it, then it's expected in the examination also you can expect it. So RTP bringing a question like that is an indicator you can expect a question like that in the main examination. So here the question is about calculation of drawing power. Okay, we know drawing power sanction limit has to be checked. Anytime drawing power cannot cross the sanction limit. Okay, all of that thing is there. And then drawing power we calculate based on the debtors balance, on the stock, a margin is left. Okay, then we add it and then calculate it. So the same idea is brought in here. So stock, debtors, including debtors 15,000 for invoice dated 2010. Sundry creditors, sanction limit 48,000. Okay, sanction limit is 48,000. So you need to calculate it. So basically when you calculate stock, you have to minus the unpaid stock. So 60,000 minus 10,000. So 50,000 into what is the margin for stock? 30%. Okay, so 15,000 you have to minus. Then for debtors, including 15,000 for invoice dated 2010. Okay, so 55 minus 15 you have to take it, and then it is going to be 40%. Here they are saying debtors older than 3 months are ineligible. So the date for calculation for us is what? March. So it is 10, 11, 12. Yeah, it is older than, so 15,000 has to be removed. So you will see the calculation will flow like this: 60,000 minus 10,000, and the margin is going to be here 30%. Debtors, if you look at 55,000 less 15,000 ineligible, and for that you are going to have 40% margin calculation. So that you have to add up, then compare to 48,000. So maximum should be 48,000. So if the drawing limit comes more than 48,000, obviously it will not be taken into account. The maximum is going to be 48,000, sorry, sanction limit. Okay. We will check the calculation of it, but just quickly go through the last question. Ethics and terms of audit engagement. ABC and Associates, an audit firm, has been approached by a prospective company client that is in the business of about 10 years to conduct an audit of financial statements. Before accepting the audit engagement, the firm wants to assess integrity of the prospective client. Okay, that is SA 210, SQC 1, everywhere we study this thing regarding the reputation of the client. So basically we need to understand about the client's business relationship, the kind of pressure put by the client, whether they are creating unnecessary pressure, what is the nature of their operations, what is the kind of business that they do. Okay, is there any kind of past record where there has been a pressure created by them, what is their goodwill in the market, all of these things are considered. So this thing a straight question. Okay, straight question. Okay, so now just quickly pick up on these questions. Okay, you can see here about written representation. As I told you, they are mentioning written representation shall be as near as practicable to, but not after the date of auditor's report. Correct? So it is because one of the necessary audit evidences which are required for the purpose of expressing the opinion, without which expression of opinion cannot be done. Correct? So here in the given situation, CA Manoj has obtained it on what date? 29 June, which is before signing the report, and therefore it has been obtained appropriately. Correct? Next, here they say if the adequate disclosure about material uncertainty is made in the financial statement, the auditor shall express an unmodified opinion, and also should include in a separate section called as material uncertainty relating to going concern. So when you look at SA 700, this part we have discussed in detail. Correct? So you have to draw the attention to the note and also tell that your opinion is not modified in the given aspect. Then Karo, I told you, is clause number 7 and it is going to be clause number 13. In 13 you will see compliance with section 177 and 188. Okay, and here it is telling about undisputed first. Okay, whether they have been paid, and if there is anything not paid, then the arrears which are due for more than a period of 6 months as on the date they, as on the 31st, last day of the financial year, 31st March, if they are due for more than 6 months from the date they became payable. And if it is disputed, sorry, if they are under dispute, then you have to mention about the amount and the forum. Correct? Then I told you central government has the power to call for special audit in the given circumstances where they are not adhering to cooperative principles. Then it is going to it is causing serious injury or damage to the interest of the trade and industry. They have not been managing properly, and then it is endangering the solvency. Okay. Now when it comes to drawing power calculation, you can see here stock 60,000, unpaid stock is 10,000, so it is going to be 50,000 taken into account. 30% you minus 15,000, so remaining is 35. Total debtors were 55,000, on which ineligible are 15,000, wherein you can see the balance is 40, where you have to apply 40%, 4 for 16,000. Correct? So if you look at this, the addition if you do, 35 plus 16 amounts to 51. But what is the sanction limit? Only 48,000. And we have studied very carefully. Sanction limit is going to be the maximum. Drawing power cannot be more than that. So here 51,000 is not correct. 48,000 alone will be allowed. The sanction limit given in the question is 48,000, whereas drawing power as per the above working is amounting to 51,000. So drawing power would be restricted to the sanction limit of 48,000 only. Correct? And then how do you assess the client integrity here? So if you look at it, see the reputation of the client, what is their, who are their owners, their key management, related parties, etc. Nature of their business operations, okay, who are the key owners, governance structure, everything. How are they interpreting accounting standards, internal control, how it is, okay, are they aggressively concerning with maintaining firm's fee very low, inappropriate limitation on the work, they're stopping you from doing something, Then you have reputation like the goodwill of the market, how, if they're into money laundering, criminal activities, any news about them in the media and all if you have, then in that case, are you going to take up such client? Obviously not. So this is a straightforward theory question. It's acceptance of continuity of client relationship. One of the matters is regarding integrity of the client. So that is one of the important aspects that we take into account while we accept a client relationship. Clear? So you can see all the discussion that we have done now regarding the RTP that has come up here. I don't think so. If you are really well prepared, you will have any problem in solving this. Okay. So it is purely the conceptual understanding. Okay. RTP is basically an insight for you to understand the questioning style. And now after doing it, you'll get a confidence also that if you have prepared the topics very well, you will not have a very difficulty in answering the question. Rather, you will see case study were so simple to solve. The straightforward MCQs were very, very easy. So where if your concept is solid, is strong, and that way answering these kind of questions very, very simple. If the drawing power calculation, if you see the question from the audit program, risk assessment part, so such a straightforward question on data analytics and all. So basically you'll see RTP itself is an insight to you that if you are well prepared, audit is not a fear. Don't look only at the theoretical aspect. Don't look only so much theory to be studied. Understand it is as good as a practical paper. So if you are studying it properly, I think you'll be able to handle it. Okay. So this RTP we have covered it now. So this has to be taken as a thorough revision. Please do it very seriously. Of 2-3 different MTPs. Practice thoroughly. That will only give you a proper understanding for your self-evaluation. Alright. So with this, have your preparation done very strong, very solid, and definitely the end is going to be really good. Okay. All the very best. Thank you.